Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sorta Bossy. I'm Adrienne, and I'm excited to be doing a special interview today. You all know that I don't do interviews super often, but when I do them, they're for a very good reason. So I met Lisa through actually a women's power, or what do they call it? Women's partnership
Partnership
group.
party. Yeah, a partnership
Yeah,
party.
and we connected there, and I just had to know more about her and her work, and now she's here with her husband because they work together on this project. So, Lisa and Mario, welcome to the show. Would you introduce yourselves the way that you would describe who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into what we're going to be talking about today, which is being a couple, which is why you're here together, and
Yes.
being in business together.
Talking about the real power behind a power couple, right? We see on social media a lot what we think of as a power couple, hustling, making money, living the lifestyle. But I think deep down, when people really think about what they want in their life, they want more ease, they want more flow, they want more quality time together, they want a life where they make choices about their time and that they're not being run around, that they're actually in control.
Mhm.
And that's I think when you hit your 40s and 50s and maybe you have done all of those things, now you go, "Okay, now I have a new definition of what it means to be successful or to be a power couple," because we don't actually really consider ourselves or going around going, "Oh, we're a power couple." Okay, it's like the opposite of what we really kind of, put out there. But the truth is, real power comes from alignment, from coherence, from being on the same page, from understanding each other. And so when people ask us these things like, well, how are you guys in this relationship? How are you working together? Really, some of our answers are just we are really on the same page. We are in communication with each other. And so that's how this all really kickstarted, was a lot of people going, tell us how you do it.
Yeah,
And so we're like, okay, let's start there.
yeah.
On my side, I am Mario, and I will consider myself a little bit of an introvert, right? I am not the spokesperson, as you can tell. My beautiful wife, she's amazing at speaking and coming out with presentations, and this is her world. I am
Mhm.
more in the research area to where I just hunker down in my computer and start doing research and finding information and resources and all these things. And one of the common things that we encounter is that people will come and ask us, "How do you guys have such a beautiful dance together?" It
Mm.
says, "I always see you smiling at each other, rubbing each other's backs. I never see you guys grumpy or anything." And I said, "Well, this is just how we are." And and so this idea of the real power behind a power couple, it came out of people asking us, "How do
Mhm,
we do
Mhm.
this?"
mhm.
So that's when we decided to start something. We said, "Babe, I think there's something here
Yeah.
that people really want to know about." And I said, "I guess it's going to be time for me to come out of my shell and start speaking." So
I love it. Well, I'm glad that you're here, and I think it's, like, when you're in the early days of a relationship, they call, like, the honeymoon phase, right? And that feels easy and light to, not be arguing all the time or to be touchy. But then when you can maintain that for long periods of time, that's when people start to notice and go, "Wait a second, I don't have that, and I thought it was normal for me to not have that. I thought it was normal for that to just go away." And I know that there's, like, scientific, chemicals related to the honeymoon phase, but there are also ways to maintain intimacy and connection and understanding so that we have this, like, powerful connection and relationship. And especially, like, I have worked with a partner. My ex-husband and I worked together. I wouldn't say that it's what broke up the marriage, but I would say that I have experience with being challenged by working with the person that you were also sleeping with, and doing everything with. And so I'm curious how you guys have navigated, you know, maintaining that while also dealing with business and the challenges of being in business together and how you would communicate to people out there listening of like, oh, I run this business and I eventually hired my husband I retired him from his job and I hired him into my company, or vice versa, right? I started this company and now my wife works with me because she does the ops, or she does this, or she does the admin. I think that's very common once you
Mhm.
reach a certain level to turn it into this family business where everybody is working together, and sometimes that can be really challenging. So how have you, like, approached that, or how do you navigate that with yourselves or with clients that you work with?
Yeah, beautiful question. Throw in there teenagers, a blended family, and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? And then
Yeah.
you can see
Yeah.
how complicated it continues to be, right?
Yeah.
Um, as we were unpacking what it looked like and how we got here, as one of the things that you can't take for granted, you want to like reverse engineer, like, okay, well, how did we get here?
Mhm.
It starts with what we would call radical responsibility, which sounds like a little bit of a cliche, but the radical responsibility part of this is that I understand Lisa is responsible for her own happiness, for my own growth, my own nervous system regulation, my own reactions and responses. I literally am responsible. I am not asking him to make me happy. I'm not asking him to soothe me or make me feel okay. That's a really hard thing because we've been brought up that partnership or marriage is like you do help each other,
Right,
but
but
at
that
the
you're
end of the
responsible for me. No.
responsible for,
Yeah.
yes. And the same on your end is, he's got to be responsible for that. And so radical responsibility was the first part of it. The second part, which is the more fun and interesting part, was what we call like awareness. And
Mhm.
awareness is like understanding. I needed to understand myself. When I came out of my first marriage, I realized I was not being myself, and that
Mhm.
caused friction. Like if you are who you are, but on the outside you're trying to be something you're not, at some point it starts to break. So
Yeah.
having awareness of who you are, and I found that through a framework called the Enneagram, a personality
Mhm.
test type,
Yeah.
framework. And that helped me go, "Oh my gosh, this is who I am. This is why I do the things I do, the good and the bad." And those two things of being responsible for that and understanding who I am, um, gave us a shared language.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'll let him talk about how he stepped into those two things as well. But when you have two partners that go, "Okay, I am an adult here and I need to take care of my own reactions and responses, and I need to know who I am and why I respond this way." I mean, you're already miles ahead of the game in terms of like how you can start to interact and engage.
Totally.
100%. When I met Lisa, I had been single for a very, very long time. So my first marriage lasted about 5 years.
Mhm.
Um, I got, I was in charge of my daughter 100%. And, and being able to raise a daughter as a single father it could be quite tricky. But I figured out, I had an amazing amount of friends that were willing to help, and everything always worked out.
Mhm.
So when I met Lisa, I have had my share of enough dating to where I knew what kind of person I was looking for,
Mhm.
and I knew also the people that it was just not compatible. At that point, I did not know about the Enneagram.
Okay.
So when I met her, um, she loved to read continuously, and she had this habit well founded that I will read just for fun, but never just like self-help books. When she introduced me to the Enneagram, she said, "Have you heard of this?" And I'm like, "Whoa, I don't what is that?" He goes, "Try it. It's a personality framework, and I think it'll be interesting if you get to find out your number."
Mhm.
And anyway, to in order not to elongate this story, I read every single number, and as I was reading, I was thinking, "Oh, yes, I'm this. I'm an 8. Oh, I'm a 1. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm a
Yeah.
2. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm a 3." Because I was looking all on the positive side of each number, and I wanted to I'm thinking, "Yeah, I can
Yeah,
be
I'm gonna
that."
be all of these.
But it wasn't until I got to my real number and the dark side of my number to where it scared me. I
Uh,
closed the book and I thought, how do they know
mhm.
this about me?
Yeah.
That was the breakthrough to where I just went and dove deep into the
Mhm.
subject. And I believe that that was our foundation
Mhm.
on how, when I learned about hers, it gave me a beautiful foundation to build a great relationship because I knew that anything she did, any way she reacted to things that were happening in our relationship, it was not to make me mad or to show me something. It was
Mhm.
just the way she operated. And when you know each other's operating system, it's
Yeah.
so much easier to navigate the relationship.
Right, because 'cause you're coming at whatever disagreement or situation from the place of, like, this person is not trying to hurt me, they're not trying to be vindictive, they're not trying to upset me. It's their dark side of how they operate, but now that I understand that, I can be empathetic towards that. I know how to maybe communicate better with that or to provide support or space, right, in a way that allows me to not take this personally, whereas sometimes when we don't know, we're just taking it personal. How could you do this to me? How could you say this to me? How could you act like that towards me? And it's like, well, they're not really. I
Yeah.
actually discovered the Enneagram about 8 years ago. I was at a business event, and the person sitting next to me was a very well respected marketer in the space, and he was such a data driven guy that when we're on this boat, I think we were at like social media marketing world or something,
Mhm.
that type of big
Mhm.
event, right? And his name is Ryan Levesque, and he created the ask methodology, which is all about like data driven, like understanding your customers, right? So he's sitting next to me and he's like, oh, have you ever heard the Enneagram? And I was like, I have, but I'm really shocked that you're asking me about this because do you use the Enneagram? And he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, I use it personally. And he's like, we use it on our team. We
Mhm.
use Slack, and next to everybody's name on our
Yes.
team Slack, it has their Enneagram number so that I know how to communicate
Yes.
best with
Yes.
this person on our team.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
was like, isn't I knew nothing about the Enneagram except just through passing conversation. I was like, isn't that like a little woo woo? Like, I'm so shocked that you, Ryan Levesque, this very data driven person, are using the Enneagram as like your communication Bible for your team. And he was like,
Yes.
no, no, no. He's like, you have to read this book. And so he recommended this book to me. I immediately bought it on Amazon. Like I still, I know when I found the Enneagram because when I go back, it's like purchased on, February 2017 or whatever it was. But ever since then, I felt the same way as you, Mario. Like I was like, oh, that's me, and that's me, and that's me. But like when you just said, like, oh, but once you got to the dark side, and I was like, oh yeah, how did it know? How did it know
Yeah.
I never had found a tool or a resource that really I felt so understood by. Like sometimes when you listen to a song, someone who is so good at writing lyrics, you're like, they put into words what I
Mhm.
couldn't even put into words about myself or how I
Right.
felt. Right. And that's how I feel and felt about the Enneagram. So, for your work, would you say that the Enneagram is the important tool or the important piece to take away is just to figure out how to understand your partner, whether it's through the Enneagram, through another
Yeah.
tool? Well, let me correct myself. Not just how to understand your partner. First of all, how to understand yourself,
Yourself.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It
Knowing
starts
and
with you.
understanding yourself
Yes.
allows you to be a better partner, right? And
Yes.
be a better leader and be a better team member and be a better
Parent,
friend,
everything.
parent, everything, right? That's
Yeah.
how I really felt the unlock for myself. But are you guys like, we are Enneagram, like,
Nope. Yeah, no, I'm gonna tag on to that and add
yeah,
a little bit to this because if you go back to responsibility and awareness as being the foundation, understanding that I'm responsible for making my own self happy and I need to know what triggers me, what doesn't trigger me, what I enjoy, what I don't enjoy, what I'm good at, what I don't. So all of that and it's an ongoing process of learning. Um, that is a lifetime job, let alone learning your partners or your kids or your clients or whatever, right? Like that just
yeah,
adds to it. But this concept of understanding yourself and then understanding that he's different. I mean, at a very baseline, different, right? And I think a
Yeah.
lot of human beings think, well, everybody must think the way I think. Everybody is an Enneagram 3. Everybody loves to be on camera. Everybody like, you're like, oh, no, 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 no. So as an adult, you realize, okay, people are different.
Mhm.
And then my job is to go, okay, well, how are you different? And so there's this acknowledgement, there's this understanding, there's this, curiosity around it. And then it moves into this idea of like, oh, you know what? I'm going to celebrate the fact that he's different. He's a 5. He loves data. He loves information. I'm going to be like, man, you are like the smartest guy. I'm not going to actually, like I said, take it personally. And then it moves into this idea of honoring it and then leveraging it.
Mm.
Like, you really can move past just going, "Oh, you're different and I'm different. I'm like this and you're like that." Like, that's fine. That is really powerful. But when you get to the point when I realize, "Oh, wait a minute. This is where you become invincible." When you and your partner can have 2 different, strengths and weaknesses, and instead of like, you're over here doing your thing and I'm over here doing my thing, woo, when you put that together and
Mhm.
you realize that I can access as much of his awesomeness and he can get mine, then that's when it moves into being a power couple. Now,
Yeah.
if you can do that through Myers-Briggs, human design, astrology, it doesn't matter. It's a shared language, and then it's a respect and an appreciation that you are in a partnership with someone else. And moving even deeper into this idea where when 2 or more people are on the same frequency, are on the same wavelength, or 2 or more people agree, as they say in the Bible, you are unstoppable. And so
Mhm.
if you can actually get in coherence with your partner, then it's not that you're both just doing great. I mean, can do exponential things. And I think the way to get in coherence with your partner is this shared language, this understanding, this empathy, and personality frameworks kind of give you that launching pad.
Yeah. I found that, like, I mean, my previous marriage, it ended, right? But I think that we found the Enneagram um at a point where we probably would have ended sooner if we didn't have it, right? And maybe if there were other differences, maybe it would have. I just don't think we were the right people for each other in general, but the Enneagram still gave us this shared language to speak to each other. And I found that, like, not just having, awareness and like, I really gained a sense of appreciation and gratitude for the differences at a point, right? Like, whereas sometimes I was, before I had all these tools, like, I was annoyed, right? I'm like, why aren't you thinking like me? Why don't you do everything the way I do? Why do you have to do it that way? Or why don't you want to do what I want to do? Right. And that, or why don't you think about even business in the same way that I do? Right. I want
Yeah.
to go. I want to take action. I want to move forward on these things. And you want to wait and get all, he was a 5. You want to get all the data and research these things, and you want to sit in isolation for, like, you need lots of alone time.
May I ask what your number is?
I'm a 3.
You're a
Yeah,
3?
so I'm a 3 with a 5, and
Yeah, so I
you,
was a
your
3 with
person.
5.
And
Okay.
but here's the beautiful part. People go, "Oh," and you didn't say this, Adrienne, but people could go, "Oh, 3s and 5s, it's not a really good fit." And I'm like, every number can be a good fit
Yeah.
when you don't need them to be anything except who they are,
Yeah.
and you get to stand in who you are truly instead of like trying to be something you're not. When
Yeah.
2 whole people, I know it's cliche, but when 2 whole people come together, yes, you can be successful side by side, but when you integrate this and leverage it, I mean, you're just unstoppable. And I think that's where couples go from good to great, where they
Mm.
go from, oh, he's got a great business and I have a great business. But when you start to put it together, then you really get to have fun seeing what's possible.
Mhm. And I think for myself, like, what you're, you know, talking about here in terms of being a whole person, and you talking about your previous marriage and really not being able to be who you are. Like, I think him and I were both not able to be who we fully are in that marriage. And I think it was part of, like, me not knowing who I fully was, right?
Yes.
And expecting for someone else to meet my needs when I didn't even know my needs and I couldn't communicate those. And so, like, do you think that part of your success is we're on the second round? Like I have a new partner now, and I think that it's not necessarily the new partner. It is myself
Yes.
knowing more about myself,
Yes.
right? And knowing how to interact with someone in a way to meet my needs by myself and then have this addition, right? And be able to be in partnership with someone without feeling like they needed to solve things for me or give me things that I couldn't fill for myself. So I'm curious, like, if you've had a similar experience, or if you think, maybe we get it better, but maybe you don't have to do it two times, right? Like all of us have done it twice, but like there are people probably listening who are like, well, I'm in my first marriage or my first relationship and I would like to keep this one, but I'm still struggling. Right. And it's like, okay, well, what do they need to do to either make that work or understand that like this isn't just about it
So
being the
think
second
about,
time
yeah,
around.
no, it's great. If you think about, so we've interviewed, I don't know, like 20 couples as we're moving into this new thing. We
Hmm.
interviewed 20 couples and several of them were married for many, many years, right? Like 20 years, 25 years. So fantastic. We're not here to say, hey, go for round two, right? But like,
Yeah.
and we also are not talking about marriages that are on the brink or in distress or need therapy. I mean, we that is beyond what
The
we
scope.
talk about. Yeah, but I do
Hmm.
think there's a lot of relationships that literally could just be explosive and really move through some of these things faster and easier and just have more fun. Have more
Hmm.
fun, have more time, if they could understand this. So what I think you pulled out was radical responsibility. Hey, I need to know who I am. How do I figure that out? There's a bunch of different ways. Eat, pray, love. I don't care, right? Like how you just go. I'm responsible to figuring out who I am so that I
Yeah.
can present my best self to, any partner or a
Yeah.
business partner, just anybody. The third piece of it, we call it ARC. Awareness, responsibility is communication, is literally talking about it, is literally we have this kind of routine that we do. It's called a walk and talk, where we make space to have conversation every single day in a way that allows us to say the hard things about ourselves, or maybe there's something that needs to be said, and to be able to do this, but you have to commit to being able to communicate. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna just let you jump in on the communication piece of it, because it's great if I'm responsible and I know about myself, but I'm not communicating that. It's not going to really do much.
So one of the things that this walk and talks unlocked for us, and it's funny because we started doing it. I started doing it with her without any any plan or
Hmm.
intention behind it. I I just enjoy talking to her. We will finish dinner, and the community where we live is like, well, let's move. Let's go and walk
Walk
around the
around.
block, and
Yeah.
then we just walk and talk about our day, how things went, or things that we're working on, things like that. And this evolved into a really way of connecting,
Mm.
an amazing. Um, a bunch of really good things happen when you are having a conversation with someone that you care about, and you are not looking at her or at him face to face, because we're walking like right now, like we're looking forward, we're looking at the scenery and everything,
It's
and
like
we're having a
disarming,
conversation.
right? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
And it feels like like a safe container to where
Hmm.
you can say what you need to say without me having to see her roll her eyes or smirk or something. Not that she does that, but
Right.
it doesn't make me feel self-conscious the moment I say it. And then
Hmm.
once it's out there, you know, she will pause, have her answer. Many times I have had breakthroughs about things that I want to do just because I am so locked into something, and then she will give me a different perspective.
Mm.
So I have found that by having this type of walk and talks in the evening, it has changed our dynamic completely.
Mm. So is there like things that you would recommend for, let's say there's a couple listening, or one of the couple, right? I think that's probably more likely, is
Mhm.
someone's listening to this on their own and they want to improve their connection, they want to improve their relationship, they want to improve their working dynamic. I think a lot of times when we're working together, it then feeds in like the stress or the challenges of working together are now then feeding into our romantic relationship and partnership. And then you just get caught in this cyclical loop of stress and frustration. And so, like, you mentioned the walk and talk. Like, are there things that they should start with or that they should do to be like, okay, this is where we're going to start the improvement process or the connection process so that we can feel like we're able to work together and we're able to be together? Because I think that sometimes they assume that like we got to get rid of one of these
Right.
if all of this is going to work.
Yeah. So what we've found is that a lot of couples say when the business is better or when we're making more money, then we can spend more time together or we can focus on the relationship or we
Mm,
can go on vacation finally or we can have a Saturday off. And even though that sounds terrible and you think nobody would say that out loud, they literally said it out loud and they said it in so many different ways. When the business, when life, when the kids, when we get more, I mean, and we all know if saying that out loud sounds ridiculous because it's a moving target and success in a business is what? It's just never ending, right?
yeah.
So the
Like
answer
you're
that a lot
gonna
of
have dips, you're gonna have highs, right? Like those are
sometimes you hit
inevitable.
a goal and you just want to keep going. You're like, oh, now in the next one. So it's the reality of saying if our relationship got on the same page, if we were in coherence, if we were in alignment, we believe that then that the business, our parenting, our finances will come along, right?
Mhm.
It's focusing on the first thing. So it's the first thing where we say, hey, our relationship's important. I know the business is important, but we literally have to say the relationship is more important first. And the
I have
second
a
thing,
question about this.
yeah,
Can I ask? Can I
yeah.
interrupt? Okay. So, when you are a couple in business, do you have boundaries around talking about the business? So similarly, like sometimes when we have kids, it's like, "Oh, if we go out on a date, like
Mhm.
let's not talk about the kids." People say that, right? And I'm like, are there boundaries that you have about conversation either on the walk and talk or on our date night or when we're on vacation? Are there things that you're like, "Let's not talk about that," or let's like have things that we talk about outside of that at least to make us more complete and whole, like
Yeah.
based on your experience and also recommendations?
I don't know that we have hard and fast boundaries. But sometimes we just you have to kinda empty the tank of the blah blah. "Oh, by the way, Tuesday," and then on Thursday, and then, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like, you have to empty the tank out. That's why if you don't give yourself a nice 30 minutes or 45 minutes or hour, you will spend your 10 minutes walking around the block talking logistics.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like, I'm gonna compare it to, like, meditating, okay? So when you meditate, right, and you sit down in the morning and you're quieting your mind, well, you can't quiet your mind the first 10 minutes. You got your to-do list and you're this, right? And you
Yeah.
have to sit in it long enough till you kinda empty the tank,
Yeah.
and now you're ready to have that conversation. But I will tell you this, to be intentional around that, um, we ask each other questions, which sounds
Mhm.
a little hokey or like, "Oh," but we ask each other questions. "Hey, what are you excited about right now? Like, what is most exciting to you?"
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
What are some other questions we ask each other that
Besides going of like how your day went, like what one of the things I'd like to ask is like if there was just one thing that you want to have accomplished today by the end of the day, what would it be? And it puts me on a spot to where I can help her get to
Mm,
that point quicker so she feels like she had a successful day. Same thing. She will
yeah.
say, "What is the one thing?" Sometimes for me, it's like if I can just make it to the gym for 45 minutes, that will be awesome today, because I've been hitting other stuff, but I feel like I've been neglecting the gym. And then she will
Yeah.
say, "All right." So she will help me with whatever I need to do, and it's like, "Okay, babe, you have 45 minutes. Go to the gym."
I love that because I think sometimes my frustration just in life, it's not really at my partner, but it's at the thing that I haven't gotten to do today. Maybe because we're in partnership and we have other obligations, right? Children, work, just life in general, right? So it's like, number one, I think that I have learned that I have to figure out how to ask for what I need. Like if I'm
Yes.
feeling that sense of like I need to go work out, and because of all of this stuff that's happening, I haven't been able to do that. I'm being responsible for everyone else on my list, which is my default behavior, right? A dark side of mine. that I've learned, okay, well, Adrienne, then you can't be upset with all these other people because they didn't know. So that's number one,
Right.
like asking for what I need. But then also I love that you're asking the question so that it makes it sometimes an easier alley oop for your partner to go, actually, I do need some help. Or actually, this is the one thing I want to get done.
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out where to make that happen. And then they have the opportunity to support it, because I always want to support my partner being able to do, the thing that's going to make him feel good or accomplished by the end of the day. But I don't always treat myself that way. But then I notice I get into a bad attitude or
Mhm.
a resentment or a frustration. And it's not really meant to be at anybody else, but it's probably coming out that way because that's just how
So
I'm
go
walking
back to
around.
that's awareness. You're aware, hey, I'm not feeling really great. I'm responsible for that. Nobody's going to take care of me. Nobody else knows. I need to communicate this. When you have a walk and talk habit or a ritual, it's almost like okay, there is space in this day for me to get this out. Right now is not the
Mhm.
right time. Sometimes if we're having some frustration and the kids are around and I'm like, "Oh, tonight when we walk." Like, there's a container for it and it doesn't
Yeah.
move to the next day and the next day and the next day. There's always a space that's kind of being held.
Yeah, I love
Sometimes it's
that.
in the morning, sometimes it's after dinner, but that's where we work out stuff, right? And if you have to go, hey, can I talk to you? All of a sudden, it's like, what do we?
Oh,
Okay, what's
no.
yeah, all of that. But when you just have
Yeah.
space already in your calendar, and I say, honestly, if you can't walk for 30 minutes a day, or you can't walk and talk with your partner for 30 minutes a day, you have got bigger problems. And I know
Mhm.
that sounds harsh to say, but if you do not have 30 minutes to talk to your partner each day, that is a symptom of something much deeper. And so when you say, where do you start? You say, hey, let's go for a walk for 30 minutes. No phones, no kids, no logistics. And then, we're putting together a list of questions that you could
Mhm.
just pull a question out and say, this is our question. And that way you're not, um, it you can blame the question, not the person for asking the question,
Yeah.
right? "Oh, the
Yeah.
question today is, what is the most challenging part of our relationship right now?"
Like,
Or
"Oh,
on a
got an
scale of 1
answer."
to 10, where do you think how do you think we're doing?
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
great question, and you just sit there and you just be quiet and let the other person talk. I mean, these are
Mhm.
really exciting questions that will bring conversation that you wouldn't have in between pickups and drop-offs and making dinner.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think, we have like I have a blended family situation and we have a lot of kids and we have young kids. And so sometimes like 30 minutes to go somewhere is impossible. But even if it's just dedicated, oh, we're gonna, we have a golf simulator. So, oh, we're gonna play on the golf simulator tonight for 30 minutes. That's when we'll do our talk, because maybe we can't leave the house, or maybe we go to the playground, they get to play while we
Yeah.
walk around the playground or something, right? There's always a way to make it happen, but I think our brain automatically goes, and I'm just thinking from my listener's standpoint of like, oh, easy for you, but I can't do that because I got kids or I got this crazy schedule. It's like, but if this is a priority, you will figure this out. And I love the idea of the walk and talk container, whether it is on a walk or not, because you're so right. Like sometimes when we feel something coming up, whether it's a frustration or just something we need to get out to our person, it feels so much bigger when there's not already a set container of when
Yes.
I'm gonna be able to say it, right? Or I know, and then I'm like, "Oh, is this the right time? He's kinda focused on this right now, and, like, we got the kids running around. Like, maybe I'll just say it later. Maybe I'll just get over it by then," And it's like, "No, no, no." Like, we have a container, and that's a
Yes.
consistent container, and so I love that practice for people because it's easy, but it does take a prioritization and a commitment, and I think all of this requires a prioritization and a commitment, right? Like even what we're talking about when we're talking about committing to understanding and being aware of ourselves, that's step 1, but like then you have to care enough to actually know, okay, this and if we're talking through the Enneagram lens, fine, but you know, take and replace that if you're listening with any other shared language and tool that you prefer to use. But the key there is like, okay, I understand my own Enneagram. Now I have to care enough to
Mhm.
think about theirs, and understand theirs and understand our interaction patterns or the conflict patterns between those 2 types, right? And the more you care, the more you're going to want to continue to learn about this. And I do this with my team even though they're not my relationship partner. Lisa, you and I talked about this, but these things apply to
Everywhere,
Everywhere,
everything.
everywhere,
everywhere.
especially when raising kids. I think, you might say, "Hey, we have a really good relationship," but when you raise teenagers and a blended family in particular, instead of parenting the way I parent or the way he was parented, we parent to their Enneagram number. Who we understand who they are, and we say, "Oh, this is the style. This is how we communicate to them. This is what's
Mhm.
important to them. This is what will motivate them. This is what not will." And so, when you parent to that child or your coworker or your employee or your client, you're just smoothing the pathway to a great
Yeah.
relationship, ease and flow in your life, a lot more fun. They feel cared for and considered. They might not even know you're doing it, but it just makes everything more easy. And that's why, one, you got to understand it for yourself, and two, your closest people. In this case, we'll talk about our partner,
Yeah.
or our spouse. That alone, you will see radical difference in your relationship, and then you'll see flow and ease in your life, in your health, in your wealth, in your business. It just is a trickle down effect when you can get into coherence with the person that you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
And I have a good challenge for your audience. I was just thinking because one of the things that I get from people that I tell them about the walk and talks, the first thing they say, "You don't understand, Mario. I just don't have time.
Right.
I have such a packed day." And I said, "Let's do an experiment." I said, "Open up your phone and look in the time spent in the different things and go check how much time you spend in social media every day." And
Mhm.
this goes for everybody. I actually challenge all the listeners to open up their phone and go check how much time they spend in social media. And whatever time it is, I want you to borrow
Trade it.
30
Yeah.
minutes. Borrow 30 minutes from social media and say, "Okay, I'm going to take this 30 minutes back to me,
Yep.
and today, I am going to start this. I'm going to spend
Yeah.
30 minutes with my wife or with my partner. And even if you don't have a chance to go out for a walk, sit by the balcony. Do something to where you are not distracted with anything
Yeah, put the
and
devices
and
down.
give it a shot."
Yeah, I love that because we're doing those other behaviors just default out of habit. We don't even realize how much time it's stealing from us that we could be prioritizing the things that we say actually do matter to us. I have just a personal inquiry about your Enneagram with your children. At what age around did you start understanding their Enneagrams? Did you let them type themselves? How did you get their types out of them? Because I have younger children and I'm like, I know the rules, like, don't type other people, right?
Right.
So I'm like, at
Yeah.
what age are we allowing them, or did you, just from your experience, like, did they know their Enneagram type?
Great question. It's different for every kid. One of my kids took the Enneagram in chemistry class with his teacher when he was
That's
in middle
cool.
school. He came home and said, "I'm a this," and I was like, "Oh!" So we had the conversation.
Cool.
When we used to go to church, they did it in church. It's funny. It's like you get a person who loves the Enneagram, and they will tell everybody
Share it
about
with
it. Doesn't matter
everybody.
where. So
Yeah.
our oldest came home one day, and she's like, "I'm a this," and it wasn't quite right, but we got an angle on it, right? And since
Yeah.
then,
An
our third
opening to discuss and then figure
yeah.
it
Yes.
out.
Our
Yeah.
third one stayed, a mystery to us almost to this day. She's 16, and we're still not quite sure. We have a better idea.
Mhm.
Human design will help you a lot because it's a birth date,
Right.
like, fixed thing.
Thing,
But
yeah.
here's where I would say, real quick, on the Enneagram, there's what they call them 3 parts, 3 triads. You
Mhm.
either lead with your head, thinking logical, you lead with your heart, which is more emotional or feeling, or you lead with your gut, and it's just like
Mhm.
this instantaneous action or this, like, guttural feeling.
Yeah, I know which my 2 youngest are based on that.
That
It's a
alone is
triad.
enough. Yeah, that alone is enough, and then the
Yeah.
second part of that is, Are they, do they process out loud their feelings and emotions? Can you know what they're thinking because they say it out loud? Do you can see them internalizing it, like they're not going to tell you, but they're struggling with it inside? And then the third one is there's a group of us that just don't know we have feelings, could care less. We pretend we don't have them. So
Correct.
that helps you just to navigate a little bit around it. I don't think it's important that you know their type
Right.
specifically. I think it's important that you realize they're different than you.
Mhm.
and then start to pick up things that go, oh, how do they respond when I do it this way? How do I
Mhm.
respond when I ask instead of tell? That
Yeah.
is just the best way. At the end of the day, as a parent, you want them to do what you want them to do, but don't you want to do it without screaming and yelling and threatening and punishing? Don't you want them to just to be easy? So at the end of the day, if we can take that responsibility on, it just makes our life easier.
Mhm.
Yes, and I love that because that not only applies to kids, right? We teach that, like, when we're talking about working with teams, because if someone hasn't typed themselves, or if, if you're working with a client or another team, right, that you don't know, you're not gonna know their type in these interactions, but you can start to just pay more attention when you have these kind of buckets, the triads, and the sensing, feeling, gut, like, okay, this is how they're processing. This is how and
Mhm.
I can respond differently based on that, right? And you
Yes.
Mhm.
can test different things
I think
based
it's the
on that.
the most mature person who says, you know what, this is how I operate, but it'll be better and easier for them if I operate the way they operate. And I think it's just a kindness. It's just a
Yeah.
kindness to say, I know better because I've been learning this and studying this. They may not. Why don't I speak in the language or in a way that makes it easy for them to be able to communicate with me? We all win that way.
Mhm. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
it. I could talk to you guys all day because this is such an interesting topic for me, just personally, professionally. Like, I think this is going to be so helpful for people, just to understand that this starts with them. This is not a blame it on your partner, or
Mhm.
it's just not working out. It's like actually radical responsibility of self, a lot of self awareness, and
Yes.
then being able to bring it to your partner. But I think the the practical things that they can even take away, the walk and talk, the prioritization of having conversations with their partner and really trying to understand their partner is so helpful. Where can people find
Yeah.
more from you all so that they can continue their learning journey and hopefully continue to improve their power partnership in their business and in their life?
Yeah, well, we kept it pretty simple. Our website's marioandlisa.com.
Wow, you got marioandlisa.com. That's
We did.
amazing.
Yeah, and there's 2 things. There's, a Discover Your Enneagram Type downloadable. It's not even a quiz. We don't really believe in the quiz anymore. We believe that you should read through them and be
Yeah.
able to identify, "Oh, this is me," and explore more. So, it's a really simple guide to get you started on that. It's something you could read, you could have your partner read. That would be great.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
second thing is just, a little bit more about our walk and talk challenge. I know that sounds silly that people would need a framework, but just some guidelines of what we do with our walk and talk, and then a series of questions. So we're putting together a 30-day walk and talk challenge.
I
And
love it.
then every day you ask one question and let's see where the conversation goes. So,
Oh, that's so fun. So you're giving them the question,
yeah,
and then the structure and accountability of
Mhm.
doing it every day and doing it with a community. I actually really love that because then it
yeah,
takes all the thought out of it and it's just about the commitment.
And this way, they don't get to blame each other. "Why did you ask me that?" They can
Yeah.
say, "Well, Mario and Lisa told me to ask you this."
yeah,
They
yeah.
made me, and then it's going to bring up so much good stuff in conversation. I love
Yeah,
that.
so those are the 2 downloadables that they can find,
Perfect.
and then from there, we're happy to have conversations with people or just
Amazing.
encourage
I'll
them.
put all of that in the show notes.
Right.
marioandlisa.com is super easy, but I'll put everything in the show notes so that you guys can have access to that and take part in whatever Mario and Lisa are putting on next, but definitely do the walk and talk challenge. Thank
Yes.
you both for being here. Mario, thank you for coming out of your shell
Thank
and
you.
being live with us here. I always appreciate that.
Thank you, Adrienne. So much fun.
It was very nice to meet you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. We loved having you. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next Tuesday.